Imagine waking up rich and realizing you can't afford breakfast. Not metaphorically rich, numerically rich. Your bank app shows more zeros than you've ever seen. Your salary just doubled again. But when you step outside, the price of bread has doubled faster. And by the time you reach the cashier, it's doubled again. This is how currencies die. Not with explosions, with price tags that change while you're still standing in line. Most people believe economic collapse is rare, an exception, a freak accident. History says the opposite. Currency collapse is the rule. Survival is the exception. In the last 100 years alone, it happened in Germany, then Zimbabwe, then Venezuela, then Lebanon. Different flags, different leaders, same ending. Savings erased, middle classes vaporized, professionals turned poor overnight. And here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. This wasn't chaos. It followed a pattern, always the same sequence. First, governments spend more than they collect. Then debt explodes. Then money gets printed to hide the damage. Then purchasing power quietly leaks away. Then people panic. Then the currency breaks. By the time the public notices, it's already too late. This isn't theory. This is financial forensics. The average lifespan of a fiat currency is just 27 years. Not centuries, not forever. 27. And nearly every currency in history is already dead. So the real question isn't if a currency fails, it's this. When the rules of money are rewritten overnight, what still holds value? Because here's the brutal truth no one tells you in school. Most assets don't just decline during collapse, they go to zero. Savings accounts feel safe until withdrawals are frozen. Bonds look stable until they're repaid in worthless money. Even good salaries become meaningless numbers on paper. But something strange happens during every collapse. While most people are being wiped out, a small group isn't panicking at all. They're not guessing, they're not gambling, they're following patterns proven by history. Assets that survived Weimar Germany, assets that survived Zimbabwe's $100 trillion notes, assets that survived Venezuela's hyperinflation and Lebanon's 98% currency destruction. Not opinions, not predictions, evidence. Over the next parts, I'm going to walk you through 5 specific assets that repeatedly survived economic collapse, and just as importantly, the assets that consistently went to zero. This isn't doomsday content. This is economic collapse, hyperinflation, and investing through a forensic lens. And we're starting with the asset governments fear most, the one they can't print, can't fake, and can't erase with keystroke. Because once you understand why it survives, you'll never look at money the same way again. When money starts dying, the first thing people reach for is hope. Hope that the government will fix it. Hope that the bank will protect them. Hope that this time is different. It never is. In every recorded hyperinflation, there is a moment when trust snaps. Not slowly, instantly. And when that happens, people abandon paper promises and run toward the one asset that has outlived every empire that tried to control it. Gold. Not because it's shiny, not because it's fashionable, but because it is immune. Let me take you back to Germany, 1923. If you held paper marks, you were annihilated. A lifetime of savings reduced to nothing. Entire pensions erased. Salaries paid twice a day because waiting until evening made them worthless. But if you held gold, you didn't get rich. You didn't double your money. You simply survived. 1 ounce of gold about the same basket of goods before the collapse, during the collapse, and after the collapse. Governments changed. Currencies died. Gold didn't notice. Same story, different country. Zimbabwe, 2008. A bus ticket required a $100 trillion note bank. That note is now a museum joke, but gold holders preserved purchasing power while the currency disintegrated. Venezuela. As the bolivar collapsed, gold quietly retained value. While people counted money by weight, not number, gold continued doing what it has always done, storing value without permission. And this isn't ancient history. Turkey, late 2024. Gold deposit accounts inside Turkish banks doubled in a single quarter, not because Turks suddenly loved jewelry, but because they recognized the pattern. Inflation rising, currency weakening, confidence evaporating. Here's what gold critics fundamentally misunderstand. Gold doesn't need to grow. It doesn't need dividends. It doesn't need productivity. Its only job is to not be destroyed. When fiat supply explodes, each unit loses purchasing power. Gold supply cannot be arbitrarily expanded, so by default, mathematically, it becomes more valuable relative to collapsing currency. Even during crises, gold behaves predictably. In 2008, gold initially crashed when liquidity froze. Everyone sold everything. But once the panic passed, gold surged 166% in under 3 years. Silver rose even more, over 400%. Same in the 1970s stagflation. Gold fell hard mid-decade, then exploded upward when inflation reality set in. This isn't speculation, this is insurance. You don't buy fire insurance hoping your house burns down. You buy it because when everything else fails, you need one thing that doesn't. But here's the tension most people miss. Gold protects purchasing power, but it doesn't help you transact day to day when systems freeze. And when your local currency is collapsing, there's another escape route people instinctively take, and one that separates those who maintain 100% of their wealth from those who lose nearly all of it. And it's not gold. It's something far more practical, far more immediate, and far more dangerous if you don't already have access to it.
When the local currency dies, history shows people don't wait for the government to save them. They switch, instantly, to something they know won't fail. Foreign currency. Not because it's exotic, not because it's exciting, because it works. Take Lebanon, October 2019. A nurse saved $50,000 in her local bank over a decade. She thought she was secure. Her money was in the Lebanese pound, pegged at 1,507 per dollar for over 20 years. Rock solid, everyone said. Then the peg broke. By April 2020, the black market rate hit 3,000. By March 2021, 14,000. By 2025, 89,000 pounds per dollar. Her $50,000? Worth just 1,000 in real purchasing power. All her planning? Gone. But her colleague, a fellow nurse, kept savings in US dollars outside the collapsing banking system. She lost nothing, 100% preserved. She wasn't lucky, she simply held money that didn't fail. Zimbabwe did the same in 2008. People abandoned their own dollar completely and switched to US dollars for every transaction, even before the government legalized it. Ecuador, Panama, El Salvador, different continents, same solution. Even today, Venezuela sees the same pattern. The local bolivar is technically legal, but major purchases happen in dollars. Argentina, Cambodia, other collapsing economies. People vote with their wallets. Here's the lesson you must understand. Foreign hard currency is survival money, not speculation, not a hedge, survival. It is the difference between maintaining your lifestyle and watching decades of work vanish overnight. But even this has limits. You can hold dollars, euros, or francs and still struggle if your local system collapses completely. Access is critical. Banking restrictions, withdrawal limits, political interference, any of these can trap your foreign holdings. And that's why history shows that diversification isn't just nice, it's mandatory. Because holding just gold or just foreign currency is only part of the puzzle. You need assets that can actually grow or maintain real value while the local economy collapses, even if the money itself is worthless. Which brings us to the next type of asset, the one most people never consider when panic spreads. It seems counterintuitive until you understand the mechanics of a collapsing economy. This asset doesn't sit in a vault, it doesn't sparkle, it's tied directly to productivity. And when the currency dies, it's the only thing that can keep generating real wealth in real terms. I'm talking about productive equities, real ownership in real companies, stocks, businesses, factories, land, equipment, inventory, things that keep making value even when the currency around them is burning. At first glance, it seems insane. How can stocks soar during collapse? Shouldn't everything crash?
Caracas 2024. The Caracas stock market rose over 3,400% in 9 trading days. Individual companies went parabolic. Mercantil Servicio Financiero jumped 200%, Can TV 219%, Banker Provincial 171%. The economy was falling apart, yet stocks skyrocketed. Why? Because a stock isn't a number on a screen. It's a share of something real, something that produces value. Here's the crucial distinction most people miss. If a company earns only in the collapsing local currency, its real profitability evaporates. Nominal stock prices might rise, but wealth is still destroyed. But companies that earn revenue in stable foreign currency, exports, international contracts, don't just survive, they thrive. Their real value increases while the local currency crumbles. It's like owning a factory in a sinking ship, but your factory produces goods that sell in lifeboats that still float. Historical examples. Mexico, 1994. Companies with export capabilities survived the peso crisis. Asia, 1998. Firms selling internationally weathered currency meltdowns, while domestic-only operations collapsed. The takeaway? Not all stocks are created equal during collapse. Only those connected to stable, real, and foreign cash flows maintain or grow real wealth. Equities are more than paper. They're dynamic wealth generators in chaos. But even with gold, foreign currency, and productive equities, there's a part of history that surprises most people. Survival doesn't always come from money or ownership. Sometimes it comes from tangible essentials you can trade when everything else freezes. Consumables, barter goods, immediate use items, things people need now when currency and banking systems fail completely. And what you choose here can mean life or death during acute crisis moments. When the system collapses completely, money stops working, banks freeze, ATMs go dry, salaries disappear, but people still need to live. That's where consumables and barter goods come in. Cigarettes in post-World War II Germany, flour and fish in Venezuela, medical supplies, water, batteries, even soap, items that hold immediate practical value when everything else is meaningless. These aren't long-term investments, you can't retire on them, but during acute collapse, they are the currency of survival, the only thing keeping families fed, healthy, and alive. And then there's agricultural land, the ultimate immovable asset, the one thing humans cannot live without: food. During the Great Depression, farmers had a massive survival advantage over city dwellers. Gardens, orchards, dairy cattle, real tangible wealth that produced calories. In Venezuela, landowners producing food remained protected, even as money and cities collapsed around them. But land has vulnerabilities. It's illiquid. Political interference can seize it. Taxes can force fire sales. Crops for export are far safer than local-only production because they generate stable foreign revenue. Here's the stark reality. Assets that survive collapse are not glamorous. They are not always profitable, but they hold real value when the rules of money are rewritten. The 5 assets that repeatedly survived economic collapse are precious metals, gold and silver, impervious to debasement; foreign hard currencies, the escape valve during collapse; productive equities with export revenue, wealth that grows even as local money dies; consumables and barter goods, immediate liquidity in immediate crisis; and agricultural land, the ultimate source of sustenance and fundamental value. And the ones that went to zero? Fixed income securities in collapsing currencies, credit evaporates; domestic savings accounts in failing banks, purchasing power destroyed. The lesson isn't panic, it's preparation. Diversify across these proven survivors. Hold assets that respond differently to monetary failure. Spread your risk globally. Protect your wealth before history repeats. Currency collapse isn't hypothetical, it's predictable. The only question is, will you recognize the pattern before it's too late, or will you be standing in line at a bakery wondering how a loaf of bread just cost 200 billion marks? The choice is yours. Position wisely, diversify, survive.